I'm Kimberly Jolly from the Fat Quarter Shop, and on this episode of AGF Stitched, I'm going to be showing you how to make the Blithe Quilt. This quilt measures 54 by 72, and despite its very geometric design, it's deceptively easy to make, and I have lots of tips for half square triangles. So go to Fat Quarter Shop's free pattern page and download the pattern and sew along with me. The first step in this quilt is to make your half square triangles. We're going to be using Triangles on a Roll because that's my favorite brand of triangle paper. I like it because it's easy to store. And we're using the 6-inch finished kind, and we're going to cut 3 squares off. So when you're cutting your square, you just want to make sure you're right on the line to get accurate half square triangles. And then following your pattern, you're going to cut some background rectangles and some print rectangles. You're going to place your fabrics right sides together. Make sure it's very flat. Take your triangle paper and put it on the top. And then we're going to pin. And when you've got something this big, you want to pin a lot so that when you're sewing, you don't get bulky paper inside, so that your half square triangles come out really nice and flat. So I'm just going to use a lot of pins, and as I'm going, I'm just going to keep smoothing the paper. And now we're going to go to our sewing machine, and using Aurifil Color 2000, we're going to stitch with a 1.5 stitch length on all of the dotted lines. And as you can see, when I placed my pins, I didn't pin around the line so that when I sew, I don't have to remove my pins. So let's go sew our triangle paper together. So now we're going to cut on all of your straight lines. First we'll take out all of our pins. And I like to grab it because I can kind of just like drop them. And they just stick right to it. So when I'm cutting, I really get the ruler very precise on the line, and your half square triangles will be more accurate. So now here, this center line that you're going to cut, the seam allowance does not have to be perfect. So I stack a couple and I cut. Because it's not really a seam allowance, it's going to be hidden. And then I'm going to take each of these, crease it back. Since we used a really skinny stitch, it will just pull right off. And you just pull all your paper off, and then now we're going to go iron our half square triangles. So when I'm going to iron my half square triangles, I layer a couple together, and I'm going to set the seam by just ironing it flat. That's going to lock your seams. And then I press toward the print. And I usually just finger press a little bit, and I put the iron right on the crease. Cut your dog ears off and just keep pressing. Make 78 half square triangles. Now we're going to take each of our fabric B squares and E squares, and we're going to cut them on the diagonal. So just take your Creative Grids ruler and make sure it's on the point. It's very important to cut accurately. You're going to make 26 fabric E triangles. And you're going to make 10 fabric B triangles. Now let's start putting our block together. Now we're going to make our Blithe blocks. take a half square triangle and a fabric E triangle. You're going to place this right sides together, paying attention to the direction of your fabrics. I'm going to use a lot of pins since we're working on the bias. I'm going to use more pins than I normally do, and I normally use a lot anyway. I'm going to start at this end and go all the way down with a 1/4 inch seam and a 2.0 stitch length. You're going to press, and your unit is going to look like this. You're going to be pressing toward the triangle. Then I'm going to clip the edge. I'm going to add another fabric E triangle, place right sides together, and pin. I'm going to start sewing at this end and go all the way down, and this should hang over about a 1/4 inch. And then your unit is going to look like this. You should have a nice straight unit, and you should have a 1/4 inch seam right here. If you don't, you're going to just take a Creative Grids ruler and trim. Then you're going to take a fabric B triangle, place it right sides together, and I'm really going to match everything up. And this is all on the bias, so it's going to be very stretchy. You want to handle it as little as possible. And you're going to press here toward the fabric B triangle. And you've got your Blithe block. You're going to make 3 Blithe blocks. Now you're going to take your fabric C squares and your fabric E triangles. Do the same thing, right sides together, pin. Sew them together and press toward your triangle. Trim your tip off. Add another fabric E triangle. Place together, pin, and stitch. And then again, your unit should be straight across, and if it's wavy in any way, you're going to just trim it with your ruler. Add a fabric B triangle. Again, right sides together, and this is all bias edges, pin a lot, place it exactly. Then you're going to press toward your white triangle, and you're going to make 6 alternate Blithe blocks. Assemble 2 different half square triangle units to make 9 half square triangle blocks. We're almost done with the quilts. Let's start assembling our quilt rows. For quilt row 1, you're going to assemble 9 half square triangle units, make 6. For row 2, you're going to assemble 1 Blithe block, 3 half square triangle blocks, and 2 alternate Blithe blocks. Make 3. Assemble your quilt center by using your row 1s and your row 2s. Make sure to pay attention to the direction of each row because a lot of them are flipped. You're going to press your rows together, and your quilt center should measure 54.5 by 72.5. I love the big bold pieces in the Blithe quilt. Hashtag AGF Stitched to show me your Blithe quilt, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.